Righto crew, wanted to get this one out. I just was not happy with the Pimax Crystal Lite in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. And it's not that I wasn't happy with the Pimax Crystal, it was that I wasn't happy with the jerky motion that I was getting in the rig. For some reason, I don't know if it's happening to others, but with the motion software I'm using from SRS Studio in my e-racing labs for actuator motion rig, man, if there's any type of, I guess, interruption to those frames or a real degradation in frame rate, it just causes really bad shudders in the rig. It's terrible. A bit like my beard because I'm on holidays at the moment, but I'm going to shave it soon. Anyway, the issues seem to have resolved themselves with the tweaks I'm going to show you for the Pimax Crystal Lite and Pimax Crystal through the PiPlay software and using the OpenXR toolkit. Now for some, the OpenXR toolkit is causing crash to desktop. I don't know if it is the OpenXR toolkit necessarily alone. It might be interfering with other software. I'm having no crash to desktops at all. So yeah, maybe it's interfering with something else. I know Microsoft say that it's not supported in 2024, but it was never supported in 2020 either. So yeah, I know that there's no longer development support for it either, but that doesn't mean it doesn't work. And my experience is game changing. This is what's brought the stability because I can render the fixed foveated rendering. It is not working natively with the Pimax Play software, as far as I know. It just doesn't turn on, it's not working at all. But with the OpenXR toolkit, man, it is golden. So we're doing a few things. We've also stepped down the resolution in the PiPlay software. I am running it at 80% res. But for me, it's bringing stability. Your mileage may vary, as I mentioned in the video. If you're not running a motion rig, you can definitely tweak these settings further and get it looking even sharper. I am also using DLSS. I need every little bit I can get. So I put all my settings on screen. We're going to go through all the good stuff. This video is a bit different and not of the same high quality that I normally try to make, mainly because I literally strapped my Nikon Z6 III camera to the back of my seat and just sort of spaghetti monstered it on there. And I wanted to capture my monitor without using capture software. Every single frame counts. And especially in my motion rig, if I run OBS, if I run the 4K webcam up there and other stuff to try and capture things, it's dog shit on toast. So really, this is the best way for me to do it. But hopefully it'll give you the frames, it'll give you the settings, and it'll give you a really good overview of what I've achieved, and then you can tweak it from there. But for me, man, it is finally making the Pimax Crystal Lite epic in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 in this motion rig so that it's buttery smooth and I'm having a good time. Anyway, you know the drill. Like and subscribe, share these videos with all your crazy friends. Let's get into the rig. This is a good one. Let's go. This is a real tricky one for me to record. I wanted to do it through my Nikon Z6 III camera because I don't want to use any screen recording software. I don't want to use OBS, anything, because that's seriously going to impact the frames and what I want to demonstrate. I think I've managed to get the Pimax Crystal Lite, and this will no doubt work for the Pimax Crystal as well, of course. Same lenses, same panels, same resolution, and I've got it stable. Now, you'll be able to lean on this a bit harder if you're not using a motion system with the SRS Studio software, and it's in turn causing you to get really violent judders and shudders if the frame rate and milliseconds drop. In my case, that is what's happening, and so I've got to attain, it's not just being in the green, and I can't put my finger on it, but it looks like it might be frame timing and any of those kind of spikes. So we're going to run through the graphic settings now because I have had to tweak them a bit further than from my previous video that I got all of the information from Steve, VR Flight Sim guy, and that really is purely related to the Quest 3 headset or virtual desktop. So I think that'll work with Quest 2 as well, but yeah, pretty much, you know, you're in the Quest ecosystem or Meta ecosystem. So if we jump into VR settings here, what I'm running at this stage is NVIDIA DLSS Super Resolution, and I'm in performance mode. AMD Fidelity FX sharpening, I've left it at 170. Projection mode is off, and I'll get into why in a minute. World scale 105, all that stuff stays the same. Reflex latency is on. Okay, so settings here, I won't go through them one by one, but I'll at least just scroll down through them so you can see what's going on. There we go. And thanks to one of the viewers that commented on my previous video for the Quest 3 on how to get the ray tracing turned off, because that was doing my head in. I just couldn't turn it off. So what I had to do was basically go to the, where are we? The global rendering quality here. I had to set that to just, I think it was anything under high, but I just set it to real low, and immediately that disabled it. Then I had to manually go through and readjust all my settings, and when doing that it left the ray tracing off. Now I don't know if ray tracing is still working or working at all in VR, but for the case of making sure it is off, this is the way to do it. Right, now let's touch on something else that is really important, and lots of people have been saying that it's crashing their computers and they're having all sorts of problems. Look, I'm not having any issues with it, and for me it's working. Your mileage may vary, but you're going to want to be running the OpenXR toolkit if you're not already. And although it will not show up here that FS 2024 is listed, if you look to the right, it shows that it is actually Flight Simulator 2024. So just don't get too confused by that. This will work, it will pick it up. Even though it's not showing FS 2020, I mean, it is, but it's relating to FS 2024. It works for both. So yeah, weird. And you're going to want that, because there is no fixed foveated rendering in Microsoft Flight Simulator. It just does not work as far as I can find. It is simply not working with the PiPlay. It doesn't matter what I do, I just simply cannot get that to work. So we'll actually quickly jump now to the settings that I'm running in the PiPlay. So if we just open that up, let's have a look here. I'm running 72 Hertz. I've experimented with the 90 Hertz. I've experimented with the upscaling. I've experimented with 120. This is what is working for me. So 72 Hertz. Brightness and everything is, you know, that's all sort of subjective. But if we jump into games and have a look, I've actually got the render resolution at 80%. Again, your mileage may vary. If you don't have a motion rig that's getting all these judders and shudders, play with that. You might be able to get it a little sharper, make it look a little nicer. It really doesn't matter about any of this here as far as I'm aware, because it is just not doing anything when you're actually in Microsoft Flight Simulator. So this just is negligible. Smart smoothing has to be off. Oh, well, it doesn't have to be, but I've experimented with that on, experimented with it off, and again, I think what I'm about to show you is the sweet spot. Anyway, hidden area mask, that should definitely be on. If we look at general, we want the OpenXR runtime to be Pimax OpenXR, and I am running the latest version of the Pimax Play, and you can download that from their website. There's really nothing to look at here in advance, so we'll just carry on as we are. Right, so we've jumped into VR now, and we'll actually get that recentered. There we go. All right, and we'll jump out of there. I think we're on the tarmac, ready for takeoff. So let's jump into the headset. We'll just let things settle down, settle Gretel. And you'll probably be able to see any judders I get through my camera, because my Nikon Z6 III is literally just shoehorned to the side of my chair. So it's a bit of a dog's breakfast. But look at that. We are almost cracking 72 frames. The milliseconds is acceptable. and things are looking tidy. You can probably see there the fixed foveated rendering is enabled, and I'll go through my settings in a second in OpenXR Toolkit. I've experimented with turbo mode on, turbo mode off. Turbo mode on basically means you can't use reprojection, but I'm actually finding that reprojection off and turbo mode on is the sweet spot. And I've got no judders. I get the odd little spike, and you'll see in a minute when we get airborne, I got one just then that I get a little kick through the rig, and it's almost like dirty telemetry is being fed to it. It's not, as far as I know, it's just got to do with frame rate and frame timing. And we can see there that we're sitting pretty solid at limited by GPU. So let's now have a quick gander at the view that I'm seeing in the cockpit. Although we've got a few little jaggy edges, it's looking pretty clean. Things are looking nice and tidy. And for the most part, this is acceptable. I'm able to fly. It's not as sharp as I want it, but for now, I mean, the colors look good. Everything's popping, and you know, I'm happy because it's actually playable in the Pimax Crystal Light. Again, your mileage will vary. If you can lean on those settings and sharpen it up a bit because your motion rig is not affected by these spikes, or you don't have a motion rig, you're golden. So definitely lean on those settings to sharpen things up. So let's actually get this in the air, and we will actually just stand by. All right, so we've got a bit of sound. Let's have a look here. So landing is looking good. Okay, flight controls are good. Man, I tell you, the Draco is just, this thing is sick. All right, flaps to take off. All right, and park brake is off. We are rolling. Traffic, 3 Mike Bravo, taking off runway 12. All right. Now, remember, what you're seeing on screen with the foveated rendering is not as bad as I see it in the headset. Yes, I can see a little bit of it, and we'll go through the OpenXR Toolkit settings soon. Whoa, this is a terrible takeoff. What's happening? We're rolling. Whoa. Oh, we're about to hit some rocks. Hold on. Oh, man, I tell you, the rocks in Flight Simulator 2024 bring a whole dimension to this game. Okay, we mocked that takeoff, but I'm not going to edit that out. That's half the silliness of me making these videos. All right, let's go. We're on power. And we're airborne. Flaps up. Whew. All right, and we are looking pretty. You might have seen a few little judders of the camera. My Nikon Z6 III doesn't motion smooth the image like some of the other camera recording stuff I'm using. So any little judders that come through, that is actually spikes in the milliseconds and the frames that are causing those motion rig issues. But you can see on screen there, we are looking pretty good on the frame rate, and I obviously recommend flying around the area or just sitting on the tarmac for a little bit, letting scenery load in. But I've done a fair bit of flying around Wyndham, Western Australia, which is where we are currently, and so things are pretty good for me. And I'm just going to bank right here, and I mean, this is completely playable and looking smooth. Oh, got a judder there, so I've got a little spike. There are the odd spikes, but I can, for the most part, live with that for the minute. And look, I could tweak it a little bit more aggressively, but I'm pretty happy with how things are actually looking visually. And I think that's a good starting point for most people. If you've got the Pimax Crystal Light or the Pimax Crystal, this is going to be a good starting point. If you're having crash to desktop using the OpenXR toolkit, although they've said that it's not supported for 2024, let's not forget it wasn't supported for 2020 either. But I'm not getting any crash to desktop, so you might be dealing with a conflict somewhere else. But certainly for what I'm doing and for what I'm playing, there was a slight lock up there. But just coming over this terrain now, it's not as buttery smooth as the Quest 3, but it is smooth enough. I do a fair bit of low flying. I love my bush planes, but this is much better than the 34 frames I was getting originally, which was just, yeah, really not acceptable. Manageable, but not acceptable. I'm certainly not getting any artifacts other than resolution because we've had to step down on it a bit. But it is, man, this is completely playable, and I'm more than happy with what I'm seeing here. Here's another quick thing, actually. If you're getting annoyed about mouse not working in the cockpit, one of the viewers mentioned about being able to get rid of the little toolbar at the top by escape, and I find that works for me. So if I go escape and then escape, again, because I had actually lost my mouse in cockpit then, it gives me back the ability to click on things in the cockpit again. So we're just going to engage autopilot. So I'm pretty happy with that because not being able to interact with the cockpit was really starting to pee me off. And, oh man, you know, center view, things are looking crystal sharp. They really are looking crystal sharp. I've got to admit, in DLSS, you're not able to read all the labels and everything as well. So if you're really big into looking at labels in cockpit and other things like that, that may become a bit of a frustration. But, all right, I thought we'd round this out by showing you the Draco. I'm sure you've seen other videos online. If you haven't, man, this thing is wild. I've been following Mike Patey's videos for years, ever since I first stumbled across Trent Palmer and the Kit Fox. So let's climb in. Not my best video for doing this filming, but this video wasn't necessarily for cinematic quality. Oh, I hope that's coming through on camera. Anyway, let's jump in. Frame rate's good. You can walk around. Everything's clean. I mean, I can move my head. Nothing's stuttering. It's looking good. You get the odd stutter here and there, but I mean, we're in VR, right? Okay, let's get the door shut. Okay, door is closed, and right, flight controls are good. Okay, we're good for half flaps, takeoff, and we're going to go for a real powerful stall takeoff here. So we're going to, handbrake is on, we're going to go full thrust. She's squatting down, and here we go. Brakes are off. Look at the climb rate on this thing. And we are climbing. Oh yeah, flaps up. This thing's like a jet aircraft. I guess it is a turboprop, but it is just, honestly, I'm going to do some mad bush flying in this thing. Oh, how cool. Frame rate's good. Man, I'm happy. I'm really, really happy with the Crystal now. Oh, a bit of a judder there, but she's smoothed out. Definitely playable. I mean, banking back across there, definitely playable. Anyway, I will see you in the next video.